Hey, Sox fans, welcome back to the MLB-centric podcast here under the FutureSox umbrella. Hot takes and heaters, or maybe the Jonathan Cannon show on this Tuesday night, June 18th. What a performance he has been having. If you're joining us live, you know that the Sox are up 2-0 to the Houston Astros. We got all that and more the week that was. Thank you so much for joining us live. You can obviously get the audio absolutely everywhere. With me, as always, on Tuesday night, Danny Miller. Hello, sir.
What's up, brother? How are you, man?
I'm, I kind of fell into some of those places that you talked about last Tuesday. I'll be honest with you. With this past week. The Seattle, hey, there was some good stuff out of the Seattle series, starting pitching especially. But, oh, man, as a body of work, I started going into the dark places. The kind of the nothingness, just the lack of really even caring or having emotion. However, tonight has brought me back to some excitement.
Yeah, agreed 100%. You know, I had already kind of started to go down that road where I just was emotionless. You know what I mean? There just was no emotion. It's almost become so expected that even when the White Sox have some offensive output, that the bullpen's going to come in and absolutely obliterate what was a great start by whoever it was in the rotation that was going that day, because the starting pitching has been pretty solid for the most part the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
But I guess I should probably update our listeners. I've been emotionless with the Sox, but as I've been keeping you guys posted on the puppies, we unfortunately lost our cancer doggy last Wednesday, the day after we recorded last, and so we've been going through a whole gambit of emotions here at the house. I just want to thank everybody who reached out. I know a lot of you showed some real compassion and concern, and I appreciate that. We are moving along. You know, we're heartbroken and saddened, but we're getting on with life. So we did have some emotions. Unfortunately, they did not come from the White Sox.
Yeah.
The Mariners and the Diamondback series were just more of the same. You know,
Yeah.
we're just watching more and more of these teams that they go up and they put up some runs, and the bullpen blows it. And we've talked about it here before. We'll continue to talk about it as the season goes on, and as guys down in the minor leagues progress. But there's a pitching staff in this White Sox farm system. I believe there is a full rotation of guys that could be 1 and 2 in a lot of organizations that are going to fill out this entire rotation over the next couple of years. And there's a couple of those guys that are not, that are slated as starters now that might not make it into the rotation, and could be some long relievers. So aside from that, I think White Sox pitching is moving in the right direction.
I want to ask you
year or two here.
I want to ask you some specific. I've kind of asked you a couple weeks ago, but I might follow up and just press you again with some specifics. But you mentioned the Seattle series, and you had Fetty going 7 innings, 1 earned run. Drew Thorpe, we were recording, that night. He had a nice outing. Jonathan Cannon, who's on the mound tonight, he's still pitching in the 9th inning here, which is just awesome, and that's an understatement. But he's now got great back-to-back outings. Crochet had a wonderful outing in Seattle. So it really, those were 1-run ball games. 3 of the 4 were 1-run ball games, and we saw more of the Michael Kopech stuff, the meltdown, if you weren't paying attention to just individual performances, last week was that. You're like, okay, it's not about the team, of course. Is that they're looking like they could get their 20th win tonight, but we all know what could happen if there is a bullpen. But it's not the team, it's not that body of work, it's the individuals. It's Well, you're looking at, maybe you're the type of fan that's looking at, well, man, I really want to see guys that could bring us back something at the deadline to really heat up. It's great to see Paul DeYoung continue to flex the power. Like, we might get
Absolutely.
valuable back from him. Fetty, keep pitching the way you're pitching, guy. We might be able to get something in Fetty. And then you're looking at guys that are definitely going to help in 2025 and beyond. In the pitching, I go to it all the time. It's just, that's what I love. But I know we need bats, and we'll see what happens, of course, at the deadline. But we're seeing Cannon pitch. We saw Thorpe. Thorpe has been dealt twice, maybe within the calendar year. Is that right? He was in the Juan Soto deal, and then he was
He was.
in Dylan Cease deal. I don't want to go down this road, but I'm just playing. I'm just almost creating a conversation here. Could you see Thorpe dealt again if the price was right? Could you see Cannon dealt? Could some team swoop in and see, really like what you have there in Cannon? I got this for you here.
Thorpe, I can possibly see, just because he's one of those guys that he's not a homegrown product like Cannon is. Cannon's been in the organization for years. He's been around the same coaching staff, the same pitchers for a while, or just the same teams. As he moves up, and he's been a bright spot in the White Sox farm system for a long time. I don't particularly think that he's going anywhere. I think they see him as part of the future. He's just got way too much control, obviously making his first 5 or 6 starts here early in the 2024 season. So Thorpe, on the other hand, we talked about last week with that first start that he had, and he looked really good going, like you said, 7 innings. And I admitted that I had a little bit of egg on my face because I wasn't sure how he was going to fare against major league pitching. In his second start, we saw a little bit something different.
Yeah, we
And,
sure did.
I think maybe it was kind of one of those things where he didn't have the first game jitters as much as he did the second game. He might be one of those guys, and it happens to a lot of guys, where you go into, your first major league start in the middle of a season, and you're almost so numb that you're just turned off, right? Like it's just shut down, and he doesn't feel the jitters. And then after being up for, almost a week and getting a feel for that vibe, and now you've got to take the ball a second time.
There's a letdown.
And
yeah.
Well, you almost know what to expect. And now the jitters set in, and
Yes.
the nervousness sets in, and, the energy is there, and you're playing for a team that's really trying to plug for a win. And now you're putting that pressure on yourself that maybe you didn't have that first game out. So I'm hoping that's all that was.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that he can put it together. We've got a lot of baseball between now and the trade deadline over the next 6 weeks. So,
yeah, I thought maybe being a little too cute. He definitely could not. He didn't have the command. On
command
Sunday,
wasn't there. The walks were up.
Walks were up. I don't even think he had a strikeout, which he's not going to be a strikeout pitcher. He's got movement, the cutter, the changeup. That's for sure. We know the velocity is low, sitting around 91, maybe 92 miles per hour if he's got the wind at his back, which I don't think was the case in Arizona. So, that's a good point by you. You're so jacked with emotions and families there, and you can't even think really. You're just going through the motions, and then things start to process. Speaking of emotions, Jonathan Cannon getting pulled here by Grifol, 2 outs in the 9th, 2 men on. Needless to say, it is a standing O at 35th and Shields. What a performance from this guy. 8 2/3, with 7 hits, 0 earned runs, a walk, I believe 4 strikeouts, as his ERA 3.34, if you care about that kind of stuff at this point. But I mean, a guy that's got almost limitless amount of pitches. He had the sweeper going. He had movement on a ton of different stuff tonight. We've talked and referenced Johnny Cueto in previous episodes. Now Cannon's got the velocity. He's got more
Cannon's staying in.
velocity, and
He's
I
going to give him
just
an opportunity to finish it up here.
he's keeping him in.
He is indeed, and I'm glad he did, because that last hit was just a check swing squibber that barely stayed fair, and really barely made it. Here we go. There's a base hit through the middle.
Oh, you know what? I'm ahead of you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Danny. Brebbia is
am I
coming
behind?
in. Yeah,
Maybe
you're
that's
behind.
what it was.
Yeah,
I apologize.
I thought, because I saw him literally, my eyes saw him walking to the dugout, and I'm like, well, maybe they instilled some new rule that I didn't know about, where the pitcher can veto the manager, and you can go back onto the mound. But I believe Brebbia.
There's that woman that's named for one of the the Android home things where you can talk. You say your name and she picks up on stuff. She must have. Yeah. ALE. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
No,
right. Brebbia is.
I don't want to say it because every time I say something that, she's like, "Oh, what's up? What's going on?" And then it's connected to my TV, and it did happen a few minutes ago. So my TV was like checking other games. I think it just kind of put me on a pause or something.
That could have been the issue. Yeah, 8 2/3, 7 hits, a walk, 4 strikeouts, career high for innings. Wow. I mean, yeah, movement all over the place, and again, like that is, they bring me back in. These young guys bring me back into, okay, if this is what we could be seeing here, and we trust the folks that are doing the development. I don't know. Do you trust the guys doing the development, Danny?
Well, that's a conversation that we've had a few times here too. How much is it about development and how much is it about talent evaluation?
Okay.
I believe that part of, I want to say it's a little bit of both. Over the last few years, I feel like talent evaluation has gotten a little bit better than it was in the past. So now we're going to see if the guys doing the development really do have what it takes to bring the best out of these guys. So far, I'm pretty happy about what I'm seeing, with the guys that are coming up through the system. And I'm pretty happy about what I'm seeing with the guys that are just getting a start in the system here in the last couple of years as well. So I think I do have a little bit more trust in that right now. And I know I'm part of a very small sliver of the fan base right now, because we've been so jaded for so long about when it comes to development, whether it's the pitching side or the hitting side, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think, and this isn't unusual for the White Sox fans are not on their own on this. I think this happens in fandom all over Major League Baseball and every sport. When you've been through something that the Sox fans have been through, since 2017, and very little success after this teardown, you just you've been burned, you've been hurt, and you're asking to trust again, and like you're jaded. There's a lot of emotions, and so I don't know. I don't know how many people are just like, hey, look, that's great. That's a great Cannon start, but I need to see more of it on a regular basis, or wake me up when, like this is 2025. To me, and I know I don't want to get up for the letdown, Johnny Nani, but this is pretty promising. I'm really, the Sox wrapped up the win here. Brebbia did his job, and finally the White Sox are at the 20th mark, joining the rest of all of baseball, and 20 or more wins, and some well beyond that. But man,
you don't say.
Yeah, look, this is early in the whole experience. There's a lot here. We've had this with other prospects over the years, just, a couple starts in, but I don't want to obviously get too ahead of myself. We've been down this road before, but when you've seen the type of baseball that's been playing just this past week, or maybe the Arizona series, and of course the whole body of work this season, you watch this start and you say, okay, that gives me some hope. That feels good. That's what we've been lacking.
Well, I think Jonathan Cannon is the real deal. I mean, if you go back and look at, some of the archive stuff at White Sox Daily, Ian and I used to talk about him on a fairly regular basis before making the jump over to FutureSox. He's been a guy he's done it, and he's done it at every level. And I honestly feel like it's not just about his pitch mix. He's got the mental makeup to go out there and do this kind of thing on a nightly basis. And he's just a rook, so he's got time to even get better. And I do believe that we're going to continue to see him get better. I honestly believe between him, and I'm just going to throw a handful of names out there right now for you. I don't want to get too deep into this because as we, you and I talked before the show, as we kind of inch closer to the trade deadline, there might be some of these guys that are, looking to become part of the rotation, eventually make their way up some point this season. I'm not going to say who or who I expect because, the White Sox know how to really throw us a curve every now and again. I also understand that some of these guys might still need some more development, but guys like, Cannon are going to continue to improve. And then you've got guys like, we're going to have a solid starting rotation. I feel like there are 4 guys that could be 1s and 2s and anywhere. And, obviously we're hoping that Garrett Crochet stays around. I know, at least I am. I don't think there's a package that you could sell me right now from anywhere that anybody's going to at least want to give us.
It's early.
Right? It is early. They're going to have to throw a lot in the direction of the South Side to peel him away from the White Sox. But I'm just saying, Garrett Crochet is looking like a solid number 1 in just about anybody in any team. And then you've got guys like Cannon, who I think can probably be a middle of the rotation guy, or maybe even a 2 when he, when he's fully developed. And we saw with the performance tonight, it looked like he could be a 1 or a 2. Looked great. Just kept his composure the entire game and mowed down a lineup that was missing parts of its best guys. But these are major league hitters, so I'm not even worried about that. Then you've got guys like Mason Adams, Noah Schultz, all coming in there. I think Mason Adams has been probably one of the most undersung minor league pitchers up until this season, and now he's finally starting to get some recognition. He's moving up the ranks in a lot of places, and I believe he's going to continue to move up, and he's really catching the eye of a lot of people. He's going to be a solid part of this rotation, guaranteed. So beyond that, it's tough to say who's going to make, the 4th and 5th spots. But there's guys out in this organization that can do it. And then again, you've got some of those starters that aren't going to make it into the rotation will be great bullpen pieces. Then there's other specialty pitchers in this organization that are going to make great bullpen pieces as well.
Yeah, and based on all of that, which is, again, it's that's feel good stuff. That really is suffering Sox fans who are looking for something, just to have something, some hope for the future. That's a great list. It makes me feel like, the Sox don't spend money on pitching in free agency anyway. They've never done that. I don't have a lot of hope.
They really don't need to, I don't believe.
And that's where I think you're not going to see them go get a big starter if there's one out there that's to their liking in their price range, because they know we've got all of these arms. We've got all of these young arms. We are lacking some bats.
You can never have enough pitching. Right?
You can never have enough pitching. I would love for them to go get, a veteran anchor. Go get your ace. Don't just rely on these young guys, which I think they did last time around, right? It's like, look at all these young arms we've got. Look at this rotation that we're going to have. I mean, their anchor ended up being
spending money. Number 1 for tonight.
Yeah, there you go. Their anchor ended up being Dallas Keuchel. That was the veteran that they eventually got to get everything going here. So maybe they aren't going to spend money, on pitching, which would be to no one's surprise because of what you mentioned. But you got to spend some money, man. You have to spend money this offseason. You just absolutely have to. But yeah, love the movement from Cannon. He was definitely the sweeper, the change. Steph was dancing around, and he's got the velocity. But still, when you couple that with the movement, man, you keep people off guard. They don't know what to expect. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's Cueto like with the velocity. Cueto will give you all kinds of looks, put tons of movement on stuff, and to have that at a young age and to really pitch, man. You can have the velocity and get a little too reliant on that, become a thrower. That wasn't the case tonight with Cannon.
Yeah, no. I mean, just absolutely solid outing. And as you mentioned, changing up speeds and keeping hitters, kind of guessing what's going on out there. Blake Name says in the chat that people talk about Thorpe's changeup.
Yeah,
Cannon's changeup is pretty damn good too. And that's no joke. Steve and John talked about it a little bit early in the broadcast tonight. And the only thing that you really want to see, and Cannon did a great job of it tonight. The really thing, the biggest thing you want to see from him is when he's throwing that sweeper, he's got to keep it away from right-handed hitters, because that is that one pitch that if it doesn't break the way he wants it to, it can get left out over the plate a little bit. But there was no sign of that whatsoever tonight. I think he had one or two that kind of got hung up, and one of them got pulled foul.
Yeah.
The other one got drilled into the plate. So, I mean,
if you're wondering, it's not, he's not the only pitcher that has done this, but if you're wondering what does a hanging sweeper look like and what happens to it, see some of what Lance Lynn did last year in a White Sox uniform.
When he did throw it,
when he did throw it,
and he was fastballs,
and he was experimenting with his sweeper. Wow. And he missed and he hung it. It got hurt and it went a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. He got touched up quite a few times, unfortunately. But
I would say you want to start that pitch. I would say you want to start it, if you can, you're looking to start it in the zone at the glove to a right-handed pitcher, no question.
As much as his break is on that thing, the horizontal break, it's got more horizontal than it does vertical break on it. You almost can start that middle, and it'll drop out of the zone and have guys looking stupid all night long.
Yeah, you could really handcuff some guys if you started at their hands and then it dives horizontally out of the zone. I mean, you're going to get guys that are, they're going to completely commit, or just they don't have enough time to commit. I mean, it's going to cause them a lot of problems. And then if you start it then at the zone and then it dives away, especially if you're looking for your out pitch, with two strikes, that's where you can really start having some fun and mixing it up, multiple times through the order.
Yeah, I mean, it's what he does. He changes up. Like you said, it's one of those things where he's going to keep guys guessing, and it's going to be difficult with his mix for, guys to, sit down and teams to get together and figure him out and make their adjustments on him. Because it's one of those things that he's done as well throughout his farm days is as soon as you think you got him figured out, he's going to change up the way he uses his pitches. He'll change up, he might go out one game and throw, 40% of that sweeper or 30% of my slide or whatever it is. And he'll change up those percentages and have you guessing. He's done it from inning to inning at times, or a bad to a bad against guys. Makes it really difficult to figure out how he's going to attack you from each at bat.
Adapting to the league, the league will adapt. There's enough video, there's enough everything out on you. And, tomorrow teams will be alerted and game planning for what's, this guy can bring, and scouts are all over this. So it's not like he can hide. How does he adapt? How does he now make the changes when teams are trying to adapt to him offensively? That's what you like to see. Now, is that growth and development, Danny? Is that appropriate at the big league level? We've been dancing with guys here. If they get a taste at the big league level, then they go back down to AAA or to the farm system. And Grifol has talked about it this past week about that's the plan. That's where that's what we want them to do is come up to the bigs, get a taste, see how they acclimate, and then go back down to work on some stuff. Is Cannon here to stay, do you think? Do you want him to be continuing to develop? Can he? Should he at the big league level?
I think he can. Obviously, I don't think development ever really stops. Because when we do talk about things like adjustment, making adjustments throughout the season or season over season or even game over game, that to me is development. You're always going to constantly be learning, studying. You're going to be looking at your opponents game in and game out. I do think that Jonathan Cannon will continue to develop. I know there's been some knocks on Ethan Katz here lately. A lot of folks have been kind of attacking him about certain pitchers and their development and what they may be working on here at the major league level, and how some of these pitchers that come up and then go back down seem to find something when they go back down, and people are starting to second guess Ethan Katz. But a guy with Jonathan Cannon's makeup, I believe, is probably just more about tweaking and adjusting than it is about developing. I think he's just got to continue to go out there and face major league lineups. I don't think there's anything left for him in the minors, in my personal opinion. And obviously, again, as we move closer to the trade deadline, the White Sox are hoping to deal a couple of pitchers. It's not a secret. It's been talked about and bandied about by everybody and their brother here lately. The White Sox are going to be sellers, and everybody's trying to prognosticate who's going to be here and who's not. Jonathan Cannon, I think, is going to almost have to stay with this team in order for this team to be able to field a starting rotation.
Field enough pitchers, yeah. We can always
What's
come
up,
back,
Uncle Ted?
We can always come back to Cannon, but I did want to kind of transition a little bit to Chris Getz and some of the things that he said before the game. General managers typically speak right before the start of a new homestand. This is a quick homestand. And you talk about the trade deadline. You talk about the direction that the Sox may or may not be going. I'm not really sure I'm clear or they're even on the same page of what they should be focusing on, what kind of packages Gretz is looking for. Is he going to bend or break? Who knows? Things can get really crazy the last 48 hours, the last 5-6 hours. I think we're still a far ways away, but that's what we do right now when a team is 20-54. We do all of this speculating as sellers. Getz, a lot has been.
You say 54, by the way. That's exactly how many more wins I need to get to that 74 mark.
Yeah, man, we're gonna have to pull audio from when we made those. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should just for fun. Maybe it'd be a good idea.
We totally can.
Yeah,
we'll revisit that. One day.
First year general manager. Okay, I could see it if it was this is a machine. The White Sox are just a machine. We just need somebody to keep things going. It's not a machine. This thing really needed a lot of help. In terms of the farm system, in terms of major league players. I think there's a lot of work to do, of course, in the managerial and coaching staff world. How they develop. There's a million different things that you could talk about, analytics and whatever. Some of that stuff's never going to change. Some of that's never going to change. They pieced this team
together in the offseason with bubble gum and duct tape. If we're talking about a machine.
Absolutely. It's nowhere near that. So Getz has got a ton of work to do. Has had a ton of work to do since he took the job. When it comes to trust, that's my big worry as a fan is he can't miss on this. We've got these assets, and it's not necessary. You got to sell off these assets at the trade deadline. Not at all. Okay. But there are some assets that are going to have to go at the deadline. And okay, we're obviously still weighing in on the Cease situation, and I wasn't very happy on some of the things that he put together. I know he had a limited budget, but come on, some of that stuff, you're not going to write home about what he did in the offseason. And now we're entrusting this guy, this first-time GM, to revamp everything, to kickstart this thing. And that's a lot. That's a lot. That's where I get a little, more than a little worried if he can handle this. Who's guiding him? Who's he looking to for advice? When all these folks from around the league know he's a first timer, are breathing down his neck about trying to pull deals at the deadline or even this offseason.
Yeah, well, again, that was another thing they talked about in the broadcast tonight was how, he and Chris Getz came out and basically said, like, I'm fielding calls every day.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing, and maybe, because he's being afforded this
But
time.
does he know what to do with the calls? I could get calls all day too, but I don't know, okay.
The thing is you've got to approach it, I mean, as any GM, and I think he's, if what he's saying is true, I think he's doing it the right way, but basically you've got to listen to those calls. I don't think anybody's in a hurry to make a move right now. There might be one or two teams that are bitten by the injury bug a little bit, that are going to be a little more serious than others early on. But the late draft date for what is it, like 5 or 6 years now? They moved that draft date in late June. That really kind of puts a kink on the trade market. I hate the fact that teams are going to wait until the final hour. It's going to be like the last 72 to 48 hours, like it has been the last 5 or 6 years, where there's going to be a flurry of moves. And there's going to be one or two moves that dictate how the rest of the moves kind of go. I think that because of that, and because Getz is getting these calls now, and everybody knows that the White Sox are sellers, it gives him time to kind of feel out what other teams are thinking. I'll take the phone call.
Yeah.
Throw at me what you want to throw at me, and then we can kind of discuss, and then we can make adjustments from there. Is he going to be outmatched? I mean, if that's the real question, I don't know. I don't know how much of the process he was a part of before being named the GM. It's unclear, but is being the director of player development before this, he might have had a say in some of what was going on. I'm sure Rick and Kenny were bending his ear a little bit, so that might give him something. I feel like he's done okay up until this point, so I'm trying to at least give him the benefit of the doubt that he'll be able to tread water through this offseason and not completely blow it. But
he's got to do more than tread water.
We're in the middle of a full on rebuild, and it took him a long time to admit that, but.
Yeah, so let's go there. I mean, and that's what I think sours a lot of people. It does me, is how his first introduction as a GM to fans was, I don't like our team, but this, that, and the other. We could probably still be competitive, and we're in the AL Central, thank goodness, and crazy stuff that. Crazy stuff at that point, where even at that time, where are you getting these people from? Are you kidding me? Like a quick turnaround? It took him a long time to really admit it. And if he would have just been more honest and say some of the things he's saying now, way back when, it might have been it would be more palatable for me. But this is just a couple of the things he said here before Tuesday's opener against Houston, which Sox ended up winning 2-0, getting their 20th win on the season, and Cannon got his first MLB win. So this was Getz. The team as a whole, although the record is not very good, I think the intent and the energy playing for the White Sox and for each other, I sense a lot of positives in that. The intent, I'm sorry I hung up on that word, but that really threw me.
The intent,
kind of like, we were good intentioned. We wanted to win, and we wanted to put things together and play well. But so there was intention there. So I'm going to give everybody a pass. Yeah, I'd light one up too. I'd light up two for that.
I read that. I was like, what? What is intent? What does that even mean?
I mean,
There's good intent. Well, I mean, every team better have good intent. Otherwise,
that's
your
not what
fan
you want
base
to
is
hear. Yeah.
right. No, like you can't tell. You can't be any team, whether it's the White Sox or the Yankees or the Miami Marlins or the Chicago Cubs. I don't care. You tell your fan base that like intent wasn't there. Their heads are gonna pop right off their shoulders. Like,
I mean, this
what
is an
does
angry
that
fan
mean?
base right now, man.
Yeah,
They
you
they
can't say
want to.
things like that.
You can't say things like this to this fan base. I mean, they're foaming, and you know, I honestly I think there's a lot that have just checked out though. They're like, you know what, I can't stomach it, and this is a fool's errand to be following this team regularly. I got a summer to go live, and you know, Bears training camp is a month and a half away, and I'll worry about this team, you know, in December or January as I get ready for maybe opening day, and we'll see what happens in 2025. But for a lot of us, you know, who are still with this team on a daily basis, consuming White Sox, talking White Sox, this is, you know, this is our team. We don't have a second favorite team. And we've been through everything that we've been through in these past 2 years with Grifol and just kind of feeling directionless. You can't say that. You can't say, well, the intent was there. You know, we
Yeah.
feel like the energy and people are playing for each other and there's positives. That does not sit well at all.
No, and I think you're absolutely right in your assessment that people are just kind of checked out. For example, I see the same people at my local gas station, our purveyor of goods, when I go to get my tobacco products so I can watch a White Sox game and my coffee to fuel me for
Yeah.
these podcasts and whatnot. But uh, he knows that we do the show. He's a sometimes listener, I believe. I don't know if he listens every week, but I know he listens. Uh, he's not usually on the live show, but he'll ask me, "Oh, you going to watch the game tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it," because he's one of those guys that are checked out,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
I tell him the only reason that I sit through as many games as I do and try to make it through all the way to the end is because I have to keep myself honest. So I'm sitting here, but I don't blame fans
Oh,
for
absolutely not.
wanting to
Yeah.
check out. And
Yeah.
I'm seeing now, we throw these quotes out during the weekly shows. I'm seeing now less and less of that on the old tweet machine. There used to be a lot of people throwing these goofy quotes out, and
Mm-hmm.
if like say yourself, you're very good for making sure that as many people out there see them as possible. I noticed you usually get a lot of retweets on that and, and,
Sure.
and reposts and quote tweets and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And I'm noticing less and less of that.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
do it as well too. I think
Oh,
these
yeah.
people, the fan base they're just done. They're tired. They don't care what Chris Getz or Pedro Gafal has to say anymore because Pedro sounds like a buffoon every time he opens his mouth. Getz
Yeah.
comes out and it sounds like it's like Rick Hahn lawyer speak, but like 101 instead of like, at a master class
And
level.
it's like read the room, man. I mean, like I appeal to the heartbroken Sox fans. Appeal like we just want the honest truth. Just be straight with us. You know, like I think he seems like his bedside manner is to sugarcoat things and to not really want to go gloom and doom. And again, there are positives happening, you know, in areas um, more so outside of the 35th and Shields world. But I think Sox fans, I would assume, just like, hey, if it's going to be bad for a long time, let me know. And we didn't get that message back in August and September from him, even though if you've been
No,
following, you knew. But now the messages are coming that way. I mean, this was just a chunk of his other piece here. This was on him talking about a contending timetable and what gets thought about that. I don't think it would be appropriate or accurate enough to put a date out there in which we feel like we're ready to compete for the division. So that ever forgiving AL Central division, that thank goodness we're in that division. Now we're at a point where it's I can't even speak to it. I can't even put anything out there at all. which is probably what he should have said back in August and September.
He should have. And the crazy thing is they say these things as if they think this White Sox fan base isn't smart enough to see through their bullshit. Pardon my French. They say these things through their teeth, and you're just like, why? If you're going to say something, like you said, let's keep it real. We're not dumb.
Yeah.
Most of the fan base isn't dumb. If you're judging your fan base off of what you see on social media, don't do that. Because there's sorry, some of you guys.
I mean, if you're going to attack John Schriffen,
casual fans,
if you're going to attack John Schriffen for being fake and not, authentic and trying to manifest excitement or whatever, then you absolutely have to steamroll Getz, for being imposter, for not being genuine, for trying to sell us something that we clearly know is not there.
What's up, Trey? Yeah,
Trey.
No, I agree. It's shameful, honestly, because we all said it. We all said it back in the offseason before the team had said it. This is not a retool. It's a rebuild. Why did it take you until May for those words to come out of your mouth? And now you had to say it because it was so painfully obvious that you could not say it anymore.
Right.
And, as we talk about being sellers at the deadline, even, it's even more obvious. So, just stop trying to blow smoke and, be forthright and I'm sorry, be forthcoming. And I have no other words. It's just shameful. I'm tired of listening to what they have to say. I am patiently waiting for draft day and the trade deadline following afterwards to really kind of make an assessment on Chris Getz's first year as GM.
Again, for someone in his position that's never done this before, but it always goes back to what Jerry's expectations are, right? If Jerry doesn't have grand expectations, if Jerry doesn't care, which we know he doesn't as much as we do as fans, and Jerry
Jerry wants to win more than anybody else.
Right. Whether it's Sox or Bulls, with all the stuff that's come out recently with the Bulls, if Jerry's like, look, you're not going to get the money, you know that. I've told fans publicly I don't want this to be a lengthy rebuild, but I don't care. I'm just going to tell you this: Luis Robert Jr. is not going to get re-signed. I'm not going to re-sign Crochet down the road. Take that information.
I'd love to see them offer him an extension this season.
Oh, I'd love that. I would absolutely love that. I want to see, pitching to be a primary purposeful focus. But if Jerry tells Chris those couple things and just says, okay, you have that information now, whatever you do, and we'll just try to spin it and sell it. I mean, and then it's like, well, when Chris maybe biffs on things or doesn't pull the trigger, or maybe it's just a so-so deal, if that's the case, and we're all up in arms, in his mind, he's like, well, I think I did right by our owner. You know what I mean? I'm pleasing the king. I'm pleasing.
Are we going to get another seat at the table, remark? Change the words up a little bit?
Sure. There'll be a variation of that comment.
It won't be a seat. We threw our hat in the ring.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I really hope that's not what it comes down to. And again, having all the pitching that we've talked about this episode and other episodes, obviously, but having all that pitching within the organization, I think could help when you're going after bats this offseason and next. And the middle long payroll that we've also talked about over the last few months.
Yeah.
They better not take advantage of what they have in working for them right now. They need to go out and absolutely take advantage this all season. If you want this thing to be quick, and there's a lot of people saying, well, it's going to be a long process and we're not going to be doing anything. We're not going to be competitive for another at least 2 years. I don't really buy that because the opportunity is there. We do have some youngsters that are going to do some things. We're seeing Lenny Sosa perform. and he's had a little bit of an up and then a down, and then he's kind of on a little bit of an
I've
upswing
liked what I've
again.
seen from Lenine Sosa recently. I
You
mean, it
know,
just feels like every time I'm really focused and paying attention and he's up, I mean, he's got some pop. I mean, he's doing something offensive more than what I saw the last go around from him.
and he's playing every day,
Yeah, well, there
every
you go.
single
There you
day,
go.
and that's exactly what he needed. It's something that Ian and I have harped on for what feels like a decade. You know what I mean? But he needs to play every single day, and he's showing you what he can do. And he made some adjustments. I believe that there's some other young candidates that they're going to do the same thing, and I think that with the guys that are coming up and all the that are in the system, if they don't go out and get some of those finishing pieces now, we are in for a long rebuild. But if there's any truth to them saying, hey, we want this thing to turn around quick because we owe it to our fans. I need to hire Chris Getz because he knows this organization and how things
Oh
work around here
God,
more than
that
anybody else.
quote, yeah,
And I owe it
yeah,
to my fans to
yeah.
get this thing rolling as quickly as possible. If there's any truth to that, they better go out and spend some money this offseason right now, and you can have this thing turned around in a year or two.
Well, I feel like the last several years, when COVID wasn't really an excuse and there was no Sox Fest, I felt like it was because they knew they were going to have, villagers with pitchforks and torches at Dr. Frankenstein's, laboratory. There was going to be a
It's a
angry,
great
angry
point. I'm glad you
bunch.
bring
I
this up,
mean,
by the way.
and I think they've got to pass this year because it's the 20th anniversary of the 2005 team coming up in 2025. And they've already talked, I think it's been brought up, that there will be a lot of returning members and they're going to do kind of a reunion thing. So if they screw up the offseason and they don't spend anything, it's like, well, remember this team?
Pitchforks
Remember,
and torches are going to come out, though.
I
Again,
don't,
don't
I,
sell this fan base short. We are not
I don't. You
stupid.
think so? You think they'll come out even though when it's going to be a reunion, like a 20th
You haven't
anniversary?
had a Sox Fest in going on 5 years. Fans have been absolutely livid about
If
it. And you're going to come out in January and not have any moves made at that point. I don't care who you bring back. You can sit down, Mark Burley, AJ Przinsky, Jermaine
no,
Dye, all Scotty
no,
Pods, all next to each other,
no, no,
and people are going to
no,
go, "Hey, great to see you guys." But Chris Getz, what the have you done for us?
maybe. But if I know this team, this organization, they love rolling out the 2005 team when things are getting a little
What else do they
dicey.
have?
Exactly. When things are getting a little dicey and hairy, it's like, hey, Mark Burley's in the studio tonight. Check it out. Paul Canerco's with us. AJ's going to be on the call. Creedy's around. Like there's always sprinkling the 2005 team, which again, I don't blame them. But yeah, maybe you're right. You are you're not wrong. You can spend some money. You can spend some serious money and get this thing going, especially with what we're seeing in the farm system and what we're seeing just again what Cannon did for us tonight and what hopefully starts stringing some more of this together. You've got those good feelings going into the offseason. You couple that with some freewheeling. Yeah, you could have more than just the reunion excitement at Sox Fest.
Yeah, I'm going to make another bold prediction. Let's call it a midseason bold prediction, but I honestly believe once they make some moves, the starting pitching might look a little bit shakier. But I feel like if
Sure.
they are
Yeah.
able to move some position players and we start seeing some guys come up, they might actually look better in the second half than they did in the first half. I know a lot of people think that come to trade deadline,
Uh-oh.
they're going to sell off everything of value. But I think some of those things that have value that they might sell off have the stink of the last couple of years, the failed rebuild on them.
Cut the
There's
fat,
going to be
running lean. Okay.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I just think that there are going to be some guys that are hungry and want to show out and they want to be a part of. I believe that that's part of what the culture is selling them at the lower levels is you are the future. You are the fix for this organization. You are going to turn this organization around, and you are going to be immortalized for that. You are going to be remembered as part of the core that turned this team around from the dregs of baseball to something that can at least be talked about with some confidence and some zeal by the fan base. And I think those guys are going to come up and they're going to want to do that. If not, at the very least, they're going to want to show out as much as possible so that maybe they can be a trade chip to a better organization.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's definitely something to watch. Couple future guys that, like, what place did they have? One that we talked about quite a bit last episode, I believe, in Duke Ellis, and another in Leisure. That Jordan Leisure we've mentioned. He falls into that category of what Grifol mentioned as like going down for more development. Jordan Leisure was sent down to, I believe, was it AAA recently? So was Zach Deloche, but it sounded like, kind of BS of the things that they want Leisure to work on. And, we're going to, have them develop down there and whatever. And, then maybe we'll see him again up at the big league level. And I've been really pleased with Leisure. Sure, he's got some hiccups here and there, but I look at him that he could be something for this White Sox team in the future, in the future fold. Now, Duke Ellis, he was DFA'd, man. That one to me was kind of surprising. Grifol on the Duke Ellis DFA. I'm hoping we can. I'm hoping we could keep him. Two premium things. One is a premium position guy, and the other is premium speed. Sometimes you got to make a tough decision, and that was it. So, thoughts on Duke Ellis being DFA'd, Danny?
I'm not shocked by that at all, simply because he is a guy that I don't think is going to draw the attention of a lot of other teams. And I'm pretty sure the White Sox are figuring he's going to clear waivers and
Gotcha.
will
Okay.
stay within the organization. I don't think they're ready to give up on him. I just think that, again, we go back to roster construction over and over and over again this year. They've got to make room for guys making their way onto the 40-man. He just kind of happened to be the odd man out when it came down to being able to move some pieces around. But I do believe he sticks around. And again, I said it last week. I'll say it again. I believe that people gave him the short end of the stick. Small sample size, ready to run him out of town. And
by people, that was me. You can just come out and say my name.
Oh, no. You were far and beyond not alone.
Really? Okay.
I mean, everywhere I looked, people are like, I ain't seeing much from this guy. He had some defensive gaffes, which is not his game. He's usually a very solid defender. He had a base running gaff that, got him picked off in a situation where the White Sox were looking like they had an opportunity to win a game. So, people were saying even with the speed, when you make mistakes, blah, 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 like he had some difficulties. But I think that I'm not saying that this is going to be a guy that's going to be an everyday outfielder anywhere he goes, but he could be a fourth outfielder that plays 2 or 3 times a week on a team that wants to rest, because he can play all 3 of the outfield positions and he can really chase them down. And if you need a Billy Hamilton type, like a second half of Billy Hamilton's career when he wasn't playing a lot of field and he was coming
an X factor
as a pinch hitter, there's your guy. He can do it. So I would say that there's a place for him. Whether if it's not with the Sox, there's a place for him in baseball somewhere.
Before we go, this will kind of take us maybe into our exit. I got to talk. I got to talk Jose Abreu with you. Talking about DFA and people getting released and surprised or not surprised. Here the Astros in town, and you thought maybe you'd get to see Jose Abreu another time. And just last week, maybe during the weekend, perhaps, Jose Abreu was let go by the Houston Astros. They still owe him a ton of money. I mean, he's got 1.5 years left on his contract. I mean, no surprise, scuffled last year, really scuffled this year. They sent him down thinking maybe he'd get himself right. brought him back up. That wasn't the case. I was definitely not in a bring him home campaign, even in jest. I don't know if anybody is going to touch this guy, but I was on if he's done and he is willing and he wants, then there's some reconciliation with the White Sox, sign him for a day, let him retire as a member of the Chicago White Sox, and let him get some love from the fans. I was in that camp. Your thoughts on the Abreu situation?
I like where your head's at. I just don't know how soon that's going to happen because
Yeah,
I'm not
it might take
sure
some time.
Pito is ready to hang it up.
Yeah.
He may go do some work, on his own and see if he can try to make his way back into baseball. The guy's all heart, man, and baseball is a
Yeah.
game he loves. So
Yeah.
until he says, like, until there's whispers of him thinking about him hanging it up, I don't know that that's going to happen. But I'm all for it. I mean, you want to sign him for a day, you want to have him retire in a White Sox uniform, by all means. But I also feel like at this point the ties have been cut.
It was not a nice
I
a
think
nice sever. Yeah.
the
Rarely
guy
is, I
was
guess.
willing
Yeah.
to give you not one but two friendly contracts. Uh, and I think that we all kind of speculated that how's he signing these contracts and staying in Chicago when he's produced the way he has. And there was always the speculation that he was offered an ambassadorship.
Hmm.
You can be part of this White Sox organization forever. So maybe they reach out to him in that fashion when the day comes. I don't really know, but it is a
Yeah.
shame to see what he's gone through this year. A lot of us question that contract that the Astros gave him because we saw a
Oh,
little bit
I'm
of that
glad the
decline
Sox didn't
here.
make that contract. That was
Yeah,
not. I mean, that was. I think there might have been some ill will for probably a variety of different reasons, but maybe it's like, hey, you never built around me. You never really invested and gave me the help that I needed. We were so close, and I was a staple. I was Mr. Consistent. You knew what I was going to give you, and you just could have finished it off and gave me some assistance. But I was there in 2022, that last game of the season, man. I went. It was a day game. Sox got absolutely demolished by the Twins, and I went purposefully because I thought this was going to be my last time to see Abreu play in a White Sox uniform. And he did not play. He
yeah,
sat, didn't even come out, didn't even look for an acknowledgement, didn't even do a curtain or just a tip of the cap or anything to fans. It was really weird,
yeah. Like
unsettling. I
Ian
think
says in the comments, no last intro. He just
no
kind of
last intro. I mean, that was, again, I don't know what was going on behind the scenes. If he knew he was gone and he didn't know how to take it and he was feeling bitter or jaded or something, but the body of work he had in a White Sox uniform and, and some bad teams. But he came in 2014 and he started mashing. Again, he was playing pro ball for a while and a little different, not a true rookie perhaps, but I think his number will be retired eventually. I really do.
I could see that. But as we talk about the exit, it kind of leaves you wondering, right? We can sit here and talk about it till we're blue in the face. We don't really know what happened, but it definitely didn't feel right. Something felt off about it. There should have been something. There should have been like, hey, you know, let's bring out Jose Abreu one last time, even if you just pinch hit for him
Yeah.
in that game and say, hey, give him a chance to face his fans and because Chicago loved him.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Everybody loved him. And like you
Absolutely.
said, there was a lot of people at that game
Yeah.
because they were
Yeah.
hoping to get one last
Yep.
glimpse of Jose Abreu.
Yep.
I don't know why they don't do that for him. And it's
Yeah.
kind of sad how the whole thing went down.
No, I mean, the White Sox are no stranger to just horrible goodbyes. I mean, you go from Carlton Fisk, which I experienced 12 or 13 when that whole thing went down, and it took years for them to kind of welcome him back and get him back in good graces. And I mean, the Frank Thomas thing,
Yeah, that was
that was a bad situation. That was ugly. And now, he's sitting here in post game and has been for years, and he's been around the stadium and, feels like he's back in. I mean, the Ozzie Guillen thing. Ozzie Guillen, like, not happy he's not getting an extension. I believe that's how it went. So just trade me, get rid of me, trade me to Miami. There was bad blood there, but, he worked his way back into the organization, into the good graces. So, and there's others, and there's some that I think of just like, what, I'm staying away. That was too much. But I think Abreu will come back eventually.
and all of that when you talk about Fisk and Frank Thomas and Ozzy and all the weird exits that have happened over the years, it almost feels like it's directed more towards the fan and the players when you do see these guys come back. Like, we're just not going to give you the satisfaction. I don't know, but I think they're so far removed from the fan experience.
Yes.
Jerry Reinsdorf sits in his ivory tower. He has no idea what his fans want. I'm sorry. I know there are some people out there that think Brooks Boyer is a good dude. And, maybe he's a great dude in life. Maybe he's a great dude to talk to. But I think he is just tone deaf.
Oh, yeah.
To what the large majority of his fan base is looking for and wants. His idea is let's throw together a decent playlist for in between innings. And we'll give you a couple of decent giveaways every year.
And that haven't been very imaginative, and the rest of the league caught up with their good food and everything else years ago. Fireworks, all the things that the Sox were like known for. Come on, everybody's doing that kind of stuff. Everybody's got crazy, interesting, food selection, and people are doing great giveaways. I mean, to have 2 bobbleheads, I'm sorry, that's insane. When you've got some teams that are doing 5, 6, maybe 7 giveaways a year in that. And so there are people that will obviously defend Boyer, and I know why they defend him, because of probably personal relationships and maybe, what they get in return, and they got to say nice things. I don't know, but
I don't really care. I don't care for the guy. I don't care for the way he's done things. I don't care for the direction of the fan experience that this organization has put together over the last 4 or 5 years. I feel like the tailgating experience it's changed. I feel like the security system not being updated is a slap in the face of fans. I feel like, we get this new rollout of food items every year, and that's supposed to be our big ticket, like, hey, we're doing this for you, the fans, but we're going to charge you $93 for a milkshake. Like, dude, you're not doing us any favors. Like, oh, let's throw a post-game concert or two a season. And
do you know how many people have said to me, who's Jordan Davis or Davies or whatever his name is?
Right.
And I'm just like, I have no idea.
Hell,
I wouldn't be the person to know that, but people who are within that genre are like, I don't know who that is. So,
and us Gen Xers that know who Rob Van Winkle is. And, there was a bunch of people out there for that didn't end up getting a chance.
That was the shooting. That was the shooting.
It was the
still wondering what happened there with that.
It was the fat roll.
Yeah. Game. Oh yes. Yeah.
So I don't think
we'll ever know. Well, let's end on a positive here. Jonathan
Davis.
Cannon, hopefully,
going way back on that one, Ian. Sorry.
Jonathan Cannon hopefully sticks around. Hopefully this is where he's going to be developing and continue to learn his craft and get better at his craft. An impressive performance on Tuesday night, 8 2/3. I mean, he was an out away, man, from finishing, and what a night that would be. Earning his first major league victories. The Sox get to their 20th win. That's the silver lining, man. I think it's the individual performances is the stuff you're looking from guys that could really factor into 2025 and guys that are improving their stock for the deadline.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I think over the next few weeks here, we will probably talk more and more about where we're at beyond the deadline. We're gonna hear more and more rumors come out. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to see what Chris Getz is going to do. I want to see what Mike Shirley's going to do in the draft. Obviously, I have all the confidence in the world in him.
Okay.
By the way, I'm going to throw my guy out there. He's not the most popular pick, but I really like Weatherholt. So I'm not
All
going to
right.
go write a draft profile on him, but you can find those draft profiles
Yes.
at FutureSox.net.
Yeah.
They've
Where
already
you want to
started to
be.
roll out a handful of them. If you guys
Yep.
want to know what's going on, who the projected top 10 picks in this draft are going to be, because they could go pretty much anywhere. There's
Yeah.
no real solid, 1 through 10, at this point. So, check that out. The guys at Future Sox are putting in a lot of hard work on that for you.
Yeah,
So,
good plug, a worthwhile plug. This is there's so much tireless work, some awesome work happening here at Future Sox, and this is where you want to be subscribing to, following. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. There's so many shows happening and great follows on Twitter X for sure. Following these players and the makings as they work their way up to the big league level. And that's us on Hot Takes and Heaters, covering MLB-centric stuff. So thank you so much once again, spending your Tuesday night with us and consuming the audio absolutely everywhere you get your podcasts. He's Danny Miller at Danny Miller FS. I'm Nick Murawski at Nick_GGTB. Until next time, go Sox.